I spent several days organizing the buffet and setting up the tents for my daughter-in-law's birthday, which was to be celebrated at my own summer lake house. But on the day of the event, my name was simply not on the guest list. My hands were shaking as I held the phone against my ear. From my car parked half a block away, I could see the golden lights illuminating my garden. I could hear the music thumping from my terrace. I could watch the silhouettes of 120 people toasting in my house at the lake. The police station answered on the third ring. "Good evening. This is Linda Solis." My voice sounded steadier than I expected. "I am the owner of the house located at 847 Lakeview Drive. There are people holding an event on my property without my consent." I hung up, and in that silence that followed, something inside me broke for good. Or maybe it finally put itself back together. How did I get here? How is it possible that a 67-year-old woman, a widow and a dedicated mother, ends up calling the police to evict her own daughter-in-law's birthday party? The answer is not simple. It never is when it comes to family. This started 3 weeks ago when Vanessa, my daughter-in-law, called me with that sweet voice she only uses when she needs something. My son Michael had been married to her for 2 years. 2 years in which I had tried with all my might to build a bridge between us. She always kept her distance as if I were an annoying stranger instead of the mother of the man she supposedly loved. But that October afternoon, her tone was different, almost warm. "Hey, Linda, do you have a minute?" she asked. I was at my apartment in the city, the one where I had raised Michael alone, while my husband David worked double shifts to pay for tuition. The same place full of photographs where my son smiled in his elementary school uniform, where we celebrated his graduation, where I cried 3 years ago when David's heart decided he had worked enough. "Of course, Vanessa, tell me." There was a pause. I could imagine her adjusting her hair, that gesture she made when she was calculating her words. "It is just that, my 35th birthday is coming up, and Michael and I were thinking, your lake house is gorgeous. Do you think you could lend it to us to do something intimate? Something for the family, My heart skipped a beat. Family, she had said. That meant I would be included. It meant an opportunity to get closer to show her that I was not the meddling mother-in-law she seemed to believe I was. Of course, I answered perhaps too quickly. The house is for the family. I did not know that the word family meant something very different to her. I did not know that I was signing my own humiliation with that answer. I did not know that in 3 weeks I would be sitting in my car watching strangers toast in the garden I planted with my own hands, while I, the owner, the one who paid every cent of that celebration, did not even have a seat at the table. But we will get to that. First, let me tell you how I went from being the generous mother-in-law to the invisible woman, how I spent $500 of my savings decorating an event from which I was excluded, and how I discovered that sometimes silence is the most powerful weapon a mother can use. Because that night, when the patrol cars arrived with their blue and red lights reflecting on the lake, when the music stopped abruptly, and 120 guests were left with their glasses halfway to their lips, I finally recovered something more important than my house. I recovered my dignity. But before continuing, if you want to know how this story ended, subscribe to the channel. Because what happened next changed not only my life, but my son's life forever. That call from Vanessa came on a Tuesday afternoon just as I was watering the geranium pots on my balcony. The October sky in the city had that pearl gray color that announces rain, and I was thinking of David. I always thought of him on Tuesdays because Tuesdays were our day. The day we went to the farmer's market, bought fresh produce, and he made me laugh with his impressions of the vendors. 3 years without him, and Tuesdays still hurt. When I saw Vanessa's name on the screen, I confess I hesitated before answering. Our relationship was tense. She greeted me at family gatherings with kisses that did not touch my cheek and smiles that did not reach her eyes. Michael always justified her coldness. "She is shy, Mom. Give her time." 2 years. I had given her 2 full years. "Linda." Her voice sounded different that afternoon, less distant. "I need to ask you a huge favor." I sat in the wicker rocking chair that David gave me on our 20th anniversary. My foolish and hopeful heart started beating faster. "Tell me, honey," I called her honey, "how naive I was. You know that on November 28th, I turned 35. She continued, "And Michael wants to do something special for me. We thought of your lake house. That place is magical, facing the water with the garden, so beautiful. It would be perfect for an intimate celebration." Intimate, she repeated. "Family-oriented," she added later. I clung to those words like a castaway to a life raft. The lake house was not just a property. It was the dream that David and I built brick by brick. He worked as an engineer in a construction company, shifts of 14 hours, Saturdays included. I gave sewing classes at home to help with expenses. For 15 years, we saved every possible dollar. When we finally bought that land facing the lake in 2005, we cried, hugging each other, watching the sunset. We built the house little by little. First, the basic structure. Then the large windows that David designed to let in all the light from the lake. Then the garden where I planted bougainvillea jacarandas and that coral rose bush that bloomed every spring. It was worth about $500,000 now, but for me it was priceless. "Of course, Vanessa," I answered, feeling that warmth in my chest that hope gives. "The house is for the family. How many people do you estimate?" "Oh, well, something small, Linda." "Intimate. Maybe 20 or 30 people maximum." 30 people. It sounded reasonable, manageable. "Perfect. Do you need help with anything? Do you want me to go a few days before to prepare the house?" There was a brief pause. Then her voice changed subtly. She adopted that tone. I would later learn to recognize the tone of someone who is getting exactly what they want. "Oh, Linda, you are so sweet. Look, if it is not too much trouble. Do you know any good catering service over there? It is just that you have more experience in these things." More experience. Code for older. "I know several," I replied, ignoring the sting. "Let me make some calls. You are a sweetheart. And hey, do you know anyone who rents tents? Just in case it rains, you know. I will take care of it. Do not worry. And flowers, right. Something elegant, but not so classic. You know what I mean? Every request came wrapped in telephone smiles. I accepted them all, thinking I was building something, a relationship, a bond between family women. How blind I was. That night, I called Michael, my son, my only son. The reason I endured years of loneliness while David worked. The reason I sewed school uniforms until my fingers hurt. "Son, I am so glad you are having Vanessa's party at the house. It is going to be very nice." "Yeah, Mom." His voice sounded tired, distracted. "Thanks for lending it." "It is not lending, Michael. It is sharing what is ours." "Sure, Mom." "Hey, I have a meeting in 5 minutes. Talk tomorrow." He hung up before I could tell him I loved him. That should have been my first sign. Michael never had time anymore. Since he married Vanessa, our conversations were reduced to rushed calls and family meals, where he checked his phone more than my face. She had him completely absorbed, but I kept waiting for things to improve, waiting to be included. The following days were a whirlwind. I contacted 3 catering services, compared prices, chose the menu barbecue sliders, pasta salad, roasted chicken. Nothing too sophisticated, but delicious homemade. Real food. Then the tents. Vanessa wanted white, elegant ones. I found them 3 large tents with metal structures and chiffon curtains. $2,000. The flowers were more complicated. Not so classic, she had said. I hired a florist who worked with coral roses, white hydrangeas, and dark green foliage. Centerpieces for the table's garlands to hang. Everything was adding up, but I was not keeping score yet. I was too busy dreaming of the moment Vanessa would hug me and say, "Thank you, Linda. I do not know what we would do without you." The problem with dreams is that sometimes they blind us to reality. And reality was about to hit me harder than I ever imagined. The Friday before the event, I drove the 2 hours from the city to the lake with my SUV loaded with cleaning products, clean sheets, and 3 suitcases. I had asked for a week off from the community center where I taught embroidery workshops to neighborhood ladies. I did not earn much, but since David died, that money was my independence. Vanessa had insisted I arrive early to coordinate everything, Linda. You know the house better than anyone. When I opened the front door, the musty smell hit me. The house had not been used for 3 months. The windows had that film of dust that time leaves cobwebs decorated the corners of the ceiling and the garden. Oh, my garden was neglected with the bougainvillea growing out of control and dry leaves covering the grass. I rolled up my sleeves and started. First I swept, then I mopped. I cleaned window by window with vinegar and newspaper as my mother taught me. I shook out the curtains, aired out. The rooms, changed the sheets in the 4 bedrooms. My knees protested every time I bent down. Age does not forgive, but I kept going. The garden was the heaviest part. I pruned the bougainvillea, raked the leaves, cut the grass with the old mower that rattled at every turn. When I finished, my hands were full of blisters, and my back burned as if needles had been stuck in it. But it looked beautiful, like when David and I came on weekends, sat on the terrace with coffee and sweet bread, watching the sun rise over the lake. Vanessa arrived Saturday morning in her white BMW. She was wearing huge dark glasses, an ivory silk blouse, and those jeans that cost more than my entire paycheck. Michael was driving with that tired face that was already permanent on him. Linda said, Vanessa entering without greeting me properly. "Let me see how everything is going." She toured the house with a critical eye. She ran her finger along the living room shelf, checked the bathrooms, went out to the garden. I followed her like a lapdog waiting for a word of approval. "The bougainvillea is very overgrown," she commented, frowning. "It gives it an air like rustic. But, well, there is no time to change that anymore." Rustic. The bougainvillea I planted with my hands 15 years ago was rustic. "And the house smells a bit old, does it not?" she added, wrinkling her nose. "Do you have any air freshener?" Michael did not even look at me. He was glued to his phone, typing messages. "I am going to buy scented candles in town," I replied, swallowing the humiliation. "Perfect. Lavender or vanilla? Nothing too strong." For the next 3 days, Vanessa turned me into her personal assistant. Every morning she arrived with new demands. "Linda, can you contact someone to install lights in the trees? I need the garden to look magical at night." I contacted an electrician. He installed hundreds of little white lights in the jacarandas and weeping willows, $1,200, and the sound system. "We need something professional, not just any speaker." I rented complete equipment: console, speakers, wireless microphone, $800. The tables. "Oh, Linda, do you think they could have linen tablecloths? Plastic ones look so cheap. I bought 15 white linen tablecloths at a downtown store, $600. I paid for every expense. Vanessa never offered $1. She assumed I did it with pleasure, that it was my contribution to my son's happiness. And maybe it was. Or maybe I was a fool trying to buy affection. On Tuesday, the tent service arrived. 3 elegant white structures rose in my garden with chiffon curtains waving in the lake breeze. It looked like a magazine wedding setting. Vanessa supervised every detail with her phone held high, taking photos for Instagram. I saw her post one, preparing something magical. No mention that it was my house. No thank you. On Wednesday, the flowers arrived. Coral roses, white hydrangeas, eucalyptus. The florist was an artist. She created arrangements that looked like pink clouds floating over the tables. Vanessa inspected them with a critical eye. "They are pretty," she said finally, although a bit classic. But, well, they are already here. Classic. That word again. Code for old, outdated from your generation, not mine. I am glad you like them. I lied, smiling. That night, while I was making dinner in the kitchen, tortilla, soup, and roast chicken, I heard Vanessa talking on the phone on the terrace. Her voice came through the open window. "No, everything is ready. Yes, the house is divine. Well, it is kind of rustic, but with the decoration, you can hide it. The old lady really got to work, honestly. The old lady. That is what she called me when I was not present. Obviously, it did not cost me anything, she continued laughing. It is my mother-in-law's house. She took care of everything. I just supervised. My hand stopped over the onion I was chopping. The knife trembled slightly. I know. But well, that is how old ladies are. They like to feel useful, right? Useful. Like a tool. Like an object. I swallowed the lump in my throat and kept chopping onions. Although the tears running down my cheeks were not just from the spice, Michael entered the kitchen at that moment, looking for a glass of water. He saw me crying. "Are you okay, Mom?" "Yes, son. It is the onion." He nodded, distracted. He took the water and left without asking more. He had stopped seeing me a long time ago. His wife had made sure of that. On Thursday night, 2 days before the event, Vanessa gathered everyone in the living room. Michael, me, and the catering coordinator. She spread a printed list on the coffee table. "Well, let's go over the last details," she said in an executive tone. "On Saturday, the guests arrive at 6 in the afternoon. The buffet opens at 7. Toast at 8. DJ starts at 9. I nodded, memorizing every detail of my own house. "How many confirmed are going?" asked the coordinator. 120 people. I froze. 120, I repeated. "I thought you said 30. Vanessa looked at me as if I were stupid. "Oh, Linda." That was the initial estimate. But you know how these things are. Word gets around. 120 people in my house that I cleaned, decorated, prepared. "And does the space fit?" I asked weakly. With the tents, "Yes, do not worry, do not worry." As if I were the guest, not the owner. That night, I could not sleep. I stayed in the hammock in the garden, watching the lights in the trees, listening to the lake water hitting gently against the shore. 120 people I did not know would come to celebrate in my house. And I still did not know what role I played in all this. But I was about to find out. And when I did, something inside me would break forever. Friday dawned with fog over the lake. From the window of my bedroom, the smallest one because the other 3 were reserved for important guests according to Vanessa, I watched the sun try to break through that gray curtain. My whole body hurt. 5 days of work without rest were taking their toll. But it was almost over. Just one more day and it would all have been worth it. Or so I thought. I went down to make coffee. The house smelled of the lavender candles I had bought mixed with the scent of freshly cut grass coming through the windows. Everything was ready. The tents installed the tables, arranged the flowers in their vases, the sound system tested. Vanessa came down past 10 in peach-colored satin pajamas, and her hair in a perfect ponytail. Not even just woken up did she look disheveled. I, on the other hand, was wearing the same gray sweatpants from 3 days ago and a blouse stained with dirt. "Good morning, Linda," she said, pouring coffee into the porcelain cup that had belonged to my mother. "Today, the event coordinator is coming for the final review. They will arrive around 12. "Coordinator?" I asked, surprised. "I did not know you had hired one." "Oh, yes. It is just that with so many details, I need someone professional to supervise the day of the event. Her name is Monica. She is great. She handles events for 500 people. 500 people. As if 120 was not enough circus for my house. Of course, I murmured, feeling a strange emptiness in my stomach. Monica arrived promptly at noon. She brought a tablet, a binder with documents, and that efficient smile of someone who charges by the hour. She was young, maybe 30 years old, with heels sinking into my grass. "Nice to meet you, ma'am," she greeted me briefly before turning completely towards Vanessa. "Well, Vane, let's check everything." Vane. She called her Vane. Vanessa hated nicknames, but with this woman she smiled, delighted. I followed them as she toured the garden. Monica took notes on her tablet, nodded, made suggestions about the flow of guests, the location of the DJ, the buffet times. "Perfect," she said finally. "Now let's confirm the final guest list. Did you bring the updated Excel?" "Here it is." Vanessa handed her phone. Monica started reading names aloud while Vanessa confirmed. I was watering the geranium pots near them, listening halfway. Names I did not know. Andrea, Sebastian, the Millers, the Garcias, Paulina, and her husband, the photographer Daniel. An immediate family, asked Monica. My mom and dad, obviously. My 2 sisters with their husbands. My cousin Renata from Michael's side. Well, just him. My hand stopped over the watering can. Just him, asked Monica, looking up. Yes, Michael does not have much family. His dad passed away and his mom is here, right? Interrupted Monica, nodding towards me. The silence that followed lasted barely 3 seconds, but felt eternal. Ah, no, said Vanessa with a light laugh like someone correcting a trivial error. She is not on the guest list. The watering can slipped from my hands. It fell onto the grass with a thud. Excuse me? Monica seemed genuinely confused. It is just that it is a high-profile event. You understand me. Pure young people, influencers, work contacts. The lady has already fulfilled her function helping me with coordination. Already fulfilled her function. As if I were a temporary employee. As if my work here had finished. But Monica looked at me uncomfortably. She is the owner of the house, right? Yes, but she understands. Vanessa did not even turn to look at me. Right, Linda. You understand that we need a certain atmosphere, a certain vibe. Do not be offended, but it is just that the people coming are very specific. Specific. Code for young. Code for you do not fit. I stood there with my hands dirty with soil, my blouse stained with sweat, feeling something crumbling inside me. 120 people would come tomorrow to my house. The house that I cleaned, decorated, prepared the house for which I paid $8,500 in tents, flowers, sound systems, and linen tablecloths. And I was not invited. I understand, I said finally with a voice I did not recognize as mine. Vanessa smiled, relieved. I knew you would understand. You are a sweetheart, Linda. Monica kept looking at me with a mixture of pity and discomfort. She pretended to check something on her tablet. Well, then, the list remains at 119 people, she said quietly. Perfect. Vanessa put away her phone. Linda, can you bring us water? It is terribly hot. She asked me for water like the maid. I went into the house with mechanical steps. In the kitchen, I leaned against the sink and closed my eyes. The tears threatened to come out, but I swallowed them. Not here. Not now. When I returned with the water, Vanessa and Monica were already reviewing other details. The toast moment, the DJ playlist, the angles for photographs. Oh, and one more thing, said Vanessa. Tomorrow night, when the event ends, the lady can come back to pick everything up on Sunday. Right, Linda? There is no rush. She did not even wait for my answer. That afternoon, when Monica left, I looked for Michael. I found him on the terrace checking his laptop. He worked at a digital marketing firm, always glued to the screen, always solving emergencies. Michael, my voice came out trembling. I need to speak with you. Tell me, Mom, he replied without looking up. Is it true that I am not invited to the party? His fingers stopped on the keyboard. He finally looked at me. Mom, he sighed. Closing the laptop. It is complicated. Complicated, Michael. It is my house. I know. But Vanessa, she has a specific vision for her birthday. She wants something sophisticated with her people. It is not personal. It is not personal. I repeated, feeling rage, starting to replace the pain. I spent $8,500 on this event. I worked like a mule all week, and it is not personal. Mom, please, he rubbed his temples. Do not make a scene. Understand, she wants only the closest ones. The closest ones. My son had just told me that I was not one of the closest ones. He looked at me with those eyes that used to see me as his hero, as the woman who took care of him when he had chickenpox at 6 years old, who taught him to ride a bike, who sold my grandmother's jewelry to pay for his college. Now he looked at me like a nuisance. Exactly as she ordered him, I whispered. What nothing? Nothing, son. I turned around before he saw the tears. That night, lying in my small bedroom, I heard Vanessa and Michael laughing on the terrace. They were toasting with wine, celebrating in anticipation. I took my phone. My fingers trembled as I searched through contacts. I did not call anyone yet, but I found a number I had saved years ago when I processed the house papers. Municipal Police Station. I saved it on speed dial, and something inside me, something that had remained asleep for 67 years, woke up. Not with a scream, with a cold and determined whisper. Tomorrow, I thought. Tomorrow we will see who fulfilled their function. I woke up at 5 a.m. on Saturday, not because the alarm rang, but because my body could no longer pretend to sleep. I had spent the night tossing and turning in bed, with my stomach churning and a constant buzzing in my ears. Outside, the lake dawned calm. The white tents shone with the morning dew. Everything was ready for the celebration. Everything except my heart. I made coffee in the silent kitchen. My hand shook as I held the cup. I still could not process what I had heard yesterday. She is not on the guest list. At what moment did I become invisible to my own son? Michael came down past 7, already showered and wearing a sky blue shirt I had given him for his last birthday. He looked handsome, rested as if nothing in the world weighed on him. "Good morning, Mom," he said, pouring himself coffee. I watched him in silence. 39 years old, my baby born on a rainy Tuesday in March, the boy who hugged my legs when he had nightmares, the teenager who confessed his first love while we ate churros in the park. Where was that Michael son? I began leaving the cup on the table. I need you to tell me the truth without lies, without beating around the bush. He looked at me with caution, like someone detecting danger. Truth about what am I invited to this party or not? The silence stretched. I saw him swallow saliva, saw him look away towards the window, towards the garden, anywhere but my eyes. "Mom, we already talked about this yesterday." "No, Michael. You told me not to make a scene, but you did not answer me, so I ask you again. Am I invited?" His shoulders slumped slightly. I recognized that gesture. He had done it since he was a child, when he knew he had done something wrong, but did not want to admit it. "It is complicated," he murmured. "Stop saying it is complicated, yes or no. Vanessa. She has a very specific idea of how she wants her party, and in that idea there is no space for the owner of the house. It is not like that, Mom. Do not take it personally. Do not take it personally." My voice rose without me being able to control it. "Michael, I have been working like crazy for a week. I spent $500 of my savings. And you tell me not to take it personally." He rubbed his face with both hands. I knew that gesture too. He did it when he wanted to escape an uncomfortable conversation. "Vanessa wants something exclusive, Mom. Sophisticated. Only people from her circle. Important contacts. Influencers. Businessmen. And I do not qualify. I did not say that. You did not have to do it." He got up from the table, restless. He started walking around the kitchen aimlessly with his hands in his pockets. "Mom, please understand. It is her birthday. Her special day. She has the right to decide who she celebrates with. In my house, I repeated, feeling every word come out like a stone. Or have you already forgotten whose property this is? Of course I do not forget. That is why we are thanking you. Thanking me. Excluding me. It is not exclusion. It is just..." He searched for words, desperate. "It is just that you do not fit the profile of the event." There it was. The truth, naked and cruel. I did not fit. I, Linda Solis, who gave birth to this man through soul-splitting pain, who nursed him for a year, who stayed up when he had a fever of 104 degrees, who sold my sewing machine to buy his first computer. I did not fit in. It is her life. Profile of the event. I repeated slowly. And what is that profile, Michael? People who do not have gray hair, people who wear designer clothes, people who do not have age spots on their hands. Mom, do not exaggerate. I am not exaggerating. I hit the table with my open palm. The coffee spilled. Your wife told me yesterday in front of a stranger that I have already fulfilled my function. Do you know what that means? That I am disposable. She did not mean that. Oh, no. And what did she mean then? Enlighten me, son, because I understood perfectly. Michael remained silent. For the first time in the conversation, he seemed to really listen to me. I saw something resembling guilt cross his face. Mom, You what? You agree with her. The pause was answer enough. I cannot contradict her on everything, he finally said with a weak voice. She is my wife, and I am your mother. I know. Do you know? Because it does not seem like it. It seems I am the annoying neighbor who meddled where she was not called. He approached me, tried to take my hand. I pulled away. Mom, please, I do not want to fight with you, not today. Vanessa is nervous. I am stressed with work. I just need this to go well. Okay, please. There he was again, the scared boy asking me not to cause trouble, for me to stay quiet, to accept my place. My place. What was my place now? The storage room where they keep old things that are useless but a shame to throw away. And then what, Michael? I asked with a calm that surprised me. After today, what do I go back to being your mom? Or have I learned my lesson to stay in my corner? Of course you are still my mom. Do not say nonsense. Then prove it to me. Tell Vanessa that I am invited. That it is my house and I have the right to be here. His face closed immediately, like a security door. I cannot do that. You cannot or you do not want to. Both things, he admitted, and something in his brutal honesty hurt me more than any lie. Mom, if I do that, Vanessa is going to cancel everything. She's going to make a huge drama. She is going to stop talking to you. Make your life impossible. He did not answer. He did not need to. I see, I said softly. Are you afraid of her? I am not afraid of her. I just want to keep the peace. The peace? I repeated bitterly. And my peace, son? Does that not count? Vanessa appeared at that moment in the kitchen door in a champagne silk robe and her hair loose falling over her shoulders. She looked at us both with that expression I already knew, annoyance barely disguised. Is something wrong? She asked with false sweetness. I heard you talking loudly. Nothing, replied Michael quickly. We were just coordinating details. Liar. My son had become a liar. Vanessa smiled at me. That smile that did not reach her eyes. Oh, Linda, thanks for waking up early. Did you check that everything is in order outside? It is just that in a few hours the catering service arrives, and I need everything to be impeccable. She was giving me orders. In my house. Everything is in order, I replied with a neutral voice. Perfect. And hey, one more little thing. Could you, I do not know, maybe go to town in the afternoon? It is just that some guests are arriving early, and I prefer to receive without distractions. Distractions. I was a distraction in my own house. Michael looked at the floor. Coward? Sure, I said. I will leave. Vanessa seemed genuinely relieved. You are a sweetheart, Linda. Really, I do not know what we would do without you, without me. What irony they knew perfectly well what they would do without me. Nothing. Because without my house, without my money, without my work, this party would not exist. But I existed to serve, not to be served. I went up to my bedroom with slow steps. I closed the door and sat on the bed. I took my phone. I opened the contact list. There it was. Municipal Police. My finger hovered over the call button. Was I really going to do this? I looked around. This small bedroom with the peach walls I painted with David one hot summer. The window from where the lake was visible. The cotton curtains I sewed by hand. This was my house, my refuge, my dream come true. And they were kicking me out. I put the phone away. Not yet, but soon. Very soon. I stayed in that bedroom until 9 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, counting the cracks that time had left in the plaster. 23 cracks. I had counted them 1,000 times before, but today each one seemed like an open wound in my own chest. The movement of the house snapped me out of the trance. I heard hurried steps, voices giving instructions, the sound of trucks arriving. The army of vendors was beginning to take position. I got up. I looked at myself in the vanity mirror. A 67-year-old woman stared back at me. Deep, dark circles, disheveled gray hair, wrinkled blouse. When did I become this someone who did not deserve to be in her own house? I went down because I could not stay locked up. I needed to see. I needed to understand how far my own humiliation went. The garden was an anthill. The catering team, 8 people in black uniforms, was unloading trays, silverware, glassware. The DJ was installing his equipment under the main tent. 2 girls were arranging chairs with white covers around the tables. And there, in the middle of everything, was Vanessa. But not the pajama Vanessa I saw in the mornings. This was another version. Fitted white dress hair, styled in perfect waves, impeccable makeup. She was holding an iPad and directing everyone like a general on a battlefield. No, the tables go further apart. I need space for people to circulate, she ordered. And the candles. Where are the candles? I said gold votives, not silver. No one saw me arrive. I was like a ghost in my own house. I approached the tents. The floral arrangements that had arrived yesterday were now distributed on every table. Coral roses, white hydrangeas, green foliage. They looked beautiful under the morning light. I touched a rose gently. "Careful, ma'am," one of the service girls told me. The bride asked that no one touch the flowers. The bride. That is what they called Vanessa. "I am the owner of the house," I replied quietly. The girl blinked, confused. "Oh, sorry, I just thought—" "Well, Mrs. Vanessa said she organized everything. Of course she said that." I walked towards the kitchen. I needed water. I needed air. I needed my chest to stop tightening like this. Michael was there talking on the phone with someone from work. Seeing me, he cut the call. "Mom, did you eat breakfast?" As if nothing had happened. As if this morning had not shattered my heart. "I am not hungry. You should eat something." "Michael, are we really going to pretend everything is fine?" He sighed. That tired sigh I could no longer stand. "Mom, do not start again, please. I am not starting anything. I am just existing." "Sorry if that bothers you. It does not bother me that you exist," he said, lowering his voice. "It bothers me that you make this so difficult. I make it difficult, me who cleaned this house until my hands were raw. Me who spent my savings. Me who I know, Mom. I know everything you did, and I appreciate it. What else do you want me to say?" I wanted him to say, "It is unfair, and I am going to fix it." I wanted him to say, "You are my mother, and you are going to be at this party because you deserve it." I wanted him to say, "Forgive me," but he said none of that. Nothing, I answered. "I do not want you to say anything." I left the kitchen before he saw the tears. The following hours were torture. I moved through the house like a shadow, seeing how my space was transformed into someone else's dream scenario. At 2 in the afternoon, the photographer arrived, a young guy with a trimmed beard and a professional camera hanging from his neck. I saw him taking photos of every corner. The tents, the tables, the lake in the background, the little lights in the trees. "Incredible location," he commented to Vanessa. "Is it your family's?" "My mother-in-law's," she replied with a casual tone. "But basically, it is like our weekend house." Basically. As if the papers were not in my name. As if David and I had not paid every cent of this property. The photographer took some papers out of his backpack. "I need you to sign the contract. It is $3,500 for the complete package, 6 hours coverage, 300 edited photos and a summary video, $3,500. More expenses I did not know about." Vanessa signed with ease. Then she put the contract in a folder she had on the dining table. When she went out to the garden, something compelled me to approach that folder. I do not know if it was curiosity, intuition, or simple need to confirm my worst suspicions. I opened it. Inside were several documents, quotes from the DJ $2,000, from the catering service $7,200, from the premium bar for $800. They added up to obscene amounts, but what left me frozen was another paper, a permit application for a private home event that Vanessa had filled out for the municipality. In the property address space was the correct address, 847 Lakeview Drive. But in the space for the owner responsible for the event, it did not say my name. It said Vanessa Ochoa Martinez, personal residence. Personal residence. My house was her personal residence. My hands were shaking holding that paper. I reread it 3 times thinking I had misunderstood. But no. There it was in black ink. She had presented herself to the authorities as the owner of this property. "What are you doing?" Vanessa's voice startled me. She was at the dining room door, arms crossed and an expression of annoyance. I had no excuse. I saw the open folder. "Those are private documents. Of my house," I replied, showing her the paper. "Why do you put yourself as the owner?" Vanessa rolled her eyes. She literally rolled her eyes like a contrarian teenager. "Oh, Linda, it is just a technicality. For the event permit, they needed a responsible party. And well, Michael told me to put my data. But it is not your house." "I know it is not my house," she said with a tone of impatience. "But it was easier this way. Less paperwork, less paperwork." She was erasing my existence from my property for less paperwork. "Vanessa, this is not right. Do you know what is not right, Linda?" She took a step towards me and her voice changed. It became cold. "That you are snooping in my things. That you are here all day, watching, judging. You already did your part. Why do not you relax and let me enjoy my day, her day, in my house, with my money, with my effort?" "Because this is my house," I said with a trembling voice, "and I have the right to be here." "Nobody says you do not have the right," she replied, softening her tone, but without warmth. "I am just saying that maybe it would be more comfortable for everyone and I do not know. You go around town, go to the market, buy yourself something nice. Come back tomorrow when this is over." She was kicking me out. Without saying it explicitly, she was throwing me out of my own house. "I need to talk to Michael." "Michael agrees with me," she said quickly. In fact, it was his idea. Lie. It had to be a lie. But when I looked for my son, I found him in the garden supervising the installation of the bar, and I asked him. His silence confirmed it. "Mom, it would be easier." I did not let him finish. I turned around and went up to my bedroom. There, sitting on the edge of the bed with the photographer's contract still in my hands, something broke, definitely. It was not a dramatic break. It was silent. Like when a dry branch finally gives way after bearing too much weight. I took out my phone. I searched on the internet. Use of private property without owner consent. The results spoke of trespassing, improper use of real estate property invasion. I searched more. Events without owner permit, fines, sanctions, immediate eviction by authorities. I looked at the time. 3:30 in the afternoon. Guests would arrive at 6. I still had time. I opened the photo folder on my phone. There were the deeds to the house I had photographed months ago when I updated the property insurance. My full name, Linda Solis, sole owner. Then I opened WhatsApp. I looked for the contact of my lawyer, Mr. Harrison, who had helped me with the will after David died. I wrote, "Mr. Harrison, I need to ask you something urgent. Do you have a moment?" He replied in 2 minutes, "Of course, Mrs. Solis. What do you need?" My fingers flew over the keyboard. I explained everything. The party, the exclusion, the false document where Vanessa put herself as owner. His response was immediate. "That is fraudulent. And if she is using your property for an event without your explicit written consent, she is technically trespassing. Did you sign anything authorizing this event? No, I wrote. Nothing in writing. Then you have every right to withdraw verbal permission at any time, even during the event. Do you need me to draft something? I stared at that question. Did I need him to draft something I needed to recover my dignity? I needed my son to open his eyes. I needed Vanessa to understand that she could not erase me from my own life. Not for now, I replied. Thank you, counselor. I put the phone away. 5:15. In 45 minutes, the guests would start arriving. I changed my clothes. I put on a simple burgundy cotton dress. I put my hair up. I put on the pearl earrings David gave me on our 20th anniversary. I looked in the mirror. You have two options, I told myself. Do you leave with your tail between your legs, or do you stay and fight? David always said I was stronger than I believed, that I had a will of steel under that appearance of a calm lady. It was time to prove it. I went down with my purse in hand. Vanessa saw me from the terrace and smiled, relieved to see me ready to leave. I did not return the smile. I got into my car and backed out of the garage. But I did not go to town. I drove half a block and parked under a weeping willow with a perfect view of my driveway. And I waited, like a predator waits for the prey to lower its guard. Because tonight Vanessa and Michael were going to learn something I had been keeping to myself for 67 years. That older ladies are not invisible. We are invisible only until we decide to stop being so. From my car under the shade of the weeping willow, I watched my house transform into a movie set. The lights began to turn on at 5:30. First the trees, then the ones bordering the stone path. Finally, the strategically placed floodlights that made the white tents shine like illuminated clouds. It was beautiful, painfully beautiful. I took out my phone and dialed Mr. Harrison again. I needed to be sure, completely sure. Tell me, Mrs. Solis, he answered on the second ring. Counselor, sorry to bother again, but I need you to confirm something. If I withdraw permission to use my house during an event, what would happen exactly? I heard papers moving on the other side. Legally, you are completely within your rights. It is your property. If there is no signed lease agreement, no written authorization, any person inside the property is there under your verbal tolerance. If you withdraw that tolerance, they become trespassers. Even if they are family, the law does not distinguish. Private property is private property. I closed my eyes. My heart was beating so hard I felt the pulse in my temples. And if I call the police, they would have to attend. You would present identification, show the deeds, and they would have to evict the event. Also, he paused if there is an event with more than 50 people, and they do not have the corresponding civil protection permits, that is another infraction. Civil protection permits. Of course, for mass events, it is required that civil protection inspects the facilities, that there are enough fire extinguishers, marked emergency exits, first aid kit. Do they have that? I thought of the tents, the 120 people who would come, the improvised electrical system for the lights, and the DJ. I do not know, I admitted. If they do not have them, the fine can be considerable, between $3,000 and $5,000, depending on the municipality. $5,000. Added to the $8,500 I had spent, plus the $13,500 for the photographer, plus whatever Vanessa had paid for the DJ and premium bar. This party was going to cost more than $20,000, and she had listed my house as a personal residence in the municipal document. Counselor, one last question. If someone presents themselves to the municipality as the owner of a house that is not theirs, is that illegal? It is making a false statement. Depending on the use given, it can be considered fraud. Why do you ask? I told him about the document I found. I heard a low whistle on the other end of the line. Mrs. Solis, that is serious. Very serious. If she is using your property, presenting herself as the owner, it could even affect your taxes, your insurance, even the title, if at some point she tried what to claim possession rights. It is unlikely, but I have seen cases where someone lives long enough in a property not theirs and then claims rights. With false documents in the middle, everything gets complicated. My blood ran cold. Are you telling me I could lose my house? Not if you act now. That is why it is important that it is clear with witnesses and authorities that you are the sole owner and that they are there without your formal consent. Witnesses, authorities, 120 witnesses would arrive in less than 30 minutes. Thank you, counselor. You helped me a lot. Are you going to do something, Mrs. Solis? I do not know yet, but if I do, it will be legal. Completely legal. That is my client, he said with an approving tone. Anything, call me. I will be available all night. I hung up. I opened my phone browser and searched for information on my own house. I wanted to know exactly what I had, what it was worth, what documents existed. I found the most recent appraisal, $500,000. The land alone was worth $300,000 for being lakefront, the construction $150,000. I also searched the property tax payment history, everything in my name, everything paid on time for 20 years. Then, because I needed to know what I was dealing with, I searched for Vanessa's Instagram profile. What I saw left me breathless. Her last post from just 2 hours ago was a photo of the tents set up in the garden. The caption said, "Preparing my dream house to celebrate life. Birthday weekend. Lake house. Blessed. My house." The comments were hundreds. "What a beautiful house you have, friend. Living by the lake is the dream. Invite me for a weekend." And Vanessa responded to each one as if it were true, as if this house were hers. I checked her previous posts. I found more photos of the lake taken on weekends she and Michael came. One from the terrace with the lake in the background. My happy place. Another in the garden. Home sweet home. Another with a glass of wine. Weekend at the lake. In none did she mention me. In none did she thank me for lending them the house. For her 32,000 followers, this property was hers. And then I saw something else. A public conversation in the comments of a photo from a month ago. A certain Monica, the same event coordinator, had commented, "Beautiful weekend house Vane. If you ever want to rent it for events, let me know. It would be the perfect occasion for weddings." And Vanessa had replied, "Ha ha ha ha, I will think about it. For now, only I use it, but you never know she used it." My house. I thought of David, of how he worked until literally dying so we could have this place. Of the nights he came home with hands destroyed from carrying materials, but smiling because we were one day closer to the dream. "This is for us, Linda," he would say, "so that when we are old, we have a place to rest, where to watch our grandchildren play." Grandchildren that did not exist yet because Vanessa was not ready to be a mother, but she was ready to appropriate my husband's legacy. I looked at the time, 10 to 6. The first cars started arriving, a gray BMW, a black Audi, a white Mercedes. People got out of their cars in elegant dresses, heels sinking into my gravel wine bottles as gifts. Vanessa received them at the door with a radiant smile, effusive hugs. Michael was by her side in a white shirt and dress pants. He looked handsome. He looked happy. He looked like someone else's son. I took out my phone again. I opened the Notes app and started writing down everything I had spent. Tents, $2,000. Flowers, $2,300. Sound system, $800. Electrician for lights, $200. Linen tablecloths, $600. Scented candles and decoration, $400. Cleaning and maintenance products, $300. Extra gardening service, $500. Gas and tolls, 4 trips, $600. Total, $700. $700 that came out of my savings account. The account where I kept the little I earned giving embroidery classes. The account that was my safety net since David died. And they did not even know how much I had spent. They never asked. More cars arrived. The music started playing from the garden. Laughter. Happy voices. I took out the phone and took photos of the cars filling my driveway, of the people in my garden, of the illuminated tents. Evidence. Then I opened contacts and searched for the number I had saved yesterday. Municipal police. My finger hovered over the call button. Was I really going to do this? I closed my eyes and saw David's face. I saw him smiling the day we signed the deeds to this house. I saw him painting the walls in stained overalls. I saw him planting the first rose bush in the garden. "It is our house, Linda." His voice sounded clear in my memory. "No one is going to take it from us." I opened my eyes. "No one is going to take it from us," I repeated aloud. I saved the number without dialing. Not yet. I waited. Because sometimes justice is not just a matter of laws, it is a matter of timing. At 7 at night, my house was a magazine postcard. From my car, I could see everything with painful clarity, the tents shining like lighthouses in the dark, the silhouettes of people moving between the tables, the reflection of the lights dancing on the lake water. 120 people, maybe more. They kept coming. An improvised valet parking. 2 guys in black vests directed the cars towards the parking lot that David had paved with his own hands. I remembered that summer of 2008 when he spent 3 weeks under the scorching sun, mixing cement, leveling the ground, placing each paver. "So you have a place to park your little car, my queen," he had told me, kissing my sweaty forehead. Now strangers parked their BMWs and Audis in that space. The music turned up in volume. I recognized the song. Something electronic modern. Nothing I knew. The kind of music Vanessa listened to. The kind of music that declared, "This is not for your generation." I rolled down the car window. The air smelled of jacarandas mixed with expensive perfumes of the guests. I heard fragments of conversations when someone passed by. "Incredible house. Did you see the lake? Vanessa has exquisite taste." "Man, I am dying to have my birthday like this Vanessa has." Vanessa is. Vanessa did. No one mentioned that the owner of that incredible house was sitting in her car half a block away, watching as an intruder on her own property. At 7:30, the catering service began to circulate with trays. I saw canapes, skewers, champagne glasses pass by the menu I had chosen, barbecue sliders, pasta salad shown by its absence. Vanessa had changed it without telling me. Of course. I took my phone and started recording short videos. The entrance full of cars, the illuminated tents, people toasting. I needed evidence of all this, of the size of the event, of the number of people. A group of women went out to the terrace with glasses in hand. One of them, blonde, tight gold dress, shouted towards the lake, "This is living." The others laughed and toasted. Their laughter pierced the night like knives. Yes, I thought. This is living. Living on what others built. Celebrating without thanking. Existing without consequences. At 7:45, I saw Michael go out to the terrace with a wireless microphone. The music went down. People started forming a semicircle. I turned up the volume on the phone a little and opened the camera to record. I needed to hear this. "Good evening, everyone." My son's voice sounded happy, relaxed. "Thank you for coming to celebrate the most important woman in my life." Every word was a stab. "Vanessa, my love." She appeared at his side, radiant in a champagne dress that must have cost a fortune. 3 years ago, the day I met you, my life changed completely. You taught me to live differently, to dream bigger, not to settle for the ordinary. The ordinary. Like his mother, like his roots, like everything I represented. And today, in this special place, he extended his arm, pointing to the house. My house. I want you to know that everything I have is yours. My heart, my life, my future. Everything. Everything except his spine, I thought bitterly. He lost that a while ago. People applauded. Vanessa covered her face with her hands in a gesture of false surprise. They kissed under the spotlights while guests took out their cell phones to photograph the moment. The toast continued. More pretty words, more promises, more lies wrapped in velvet. No one mentioned who paid for the tents they were under. No one thanked the effort of the woman who left her hands destroyed, cleaning so they could celebrate. No one remembered that an owner existed. I was a ghost. Worse than that. I was an uncomfortable memory they preferred to forget. At 8:30, the DJ played louder music. People started dancing. I saw Vanessa in the center, surrounded by friends dancing and screaming. Cell phone flashes capturing every moment for Instagram. Michael danced beside her with that smile I had not seen on him in years. My son was happy. Without me. That was what hurt the most. Not Vanessa's betrayal. That was expected. But discovering that Michael could be completely happy with my absence. That maybe he was even happier without me there, ruining the atmosphere with my old age, with my memories, with my mere existence. I looked at the time. 9:15. I took out the phone and opened my contacts. I looked for another number, one I had also saved days ago, Civil Protection. I dialed. A male voice answered. Professional. Civil Protection. Good evening. Good evening. My voice sounded surprisingly firm. I want to report a mass event without the corresponding permits. Can you give me the address? 847 Lakeview Drive. There are more than 100 people. Tents installed with improvised electrical connections. They do not have visible fire extinguishers or emergency signage. Are you the owner of the property? Yes. And you did not authorize the event pause. This was the decisive moment, not in writing, and I want to revoke any verbal permission I may have given. Understood. We will send a unit to verify. Can you be present to identify yourself as the owner? I will be there in 10 minutes. I hung up. Then I dialed the police station. Station, at your service. Good evening. This is Linda Solis. I am the owner of the house located at 847 Lakeview Drive. I took a deep breath. There are people holding an event on my property without my consent. I need you to send a patrol car. Are the people at the location right now? Yes. Approximately 120. And are you the legal owner? I have the deeds with me. Perfect. We are sending a unit. Be there in 15 minutes to identify yourself. I will be there. I hung up for the second time. My hands were not shaking. My heart beat strongly but with a steady rhythm. I felt no doubt. I felt no fear. I felt something I had not felt in weeks. Power. I started the car and drove it slowly towards my house. I parked it in the driveway, partially blocking access. Let them see I had arrived. Let them know the owner was back. I got out of the car with my purse hanging from my shoulder. Inside, I carried the house deeds, my official ID receipts for all the payments I had made this week. Evidence. I walked towards the entrance. The valet parking guy saw me arrive and intercepted me with a professional smile. Good evening, ma'am. Are you coming to the event? I need to verify that you are on the list of... I am the owner of this house. I interrupted him with a firm voice, and I do not need to be on any list. His smile froze. I will let Mrs. Vanessa know that. It is not necessary. She is going to find out very soon. I walked past him and entered my property. The music thumped. Laughter filled every corner. The smell of expensive food and mixed perfumes floated in the air. No one saw me enter. Everyone was too busy celebrating. I stood there on the threshold of my own house watching 120 strangers enjoy what David and I built with blood, sweat, and tears. And then I heard the sirens, first distant, then closer. The music was so loud that almost no one noticed them at first, but I did. I smiled for the first time in days because the sirens were not coming to interrupt a party. They were coming to return what was mine. The blue and red lights appeared first. They cut through the night like neon lightning reflecting in the windows of my house on the dark water of the lake in the champagne glasses people held. The music kept playing. No one had noticed anything yet. I stood by the front door with the purse hanging from my shoulder and my heart beating like a war drum. 2 patrol cars arrived first. Then the white civil protection van. That is when people started turning around. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Someone turned down the music volume. I saw Vanessa turn sharply towards the entrance, her face transforming from joy to confusion in seconds. Michael was beside her, glass in hand, with that expression of what is happening that he wore when something escaped his control. 4 police officers got out of the patrol cars. Two men from Civil Protection came out of the van with clipboards and flashlights. The commander, a man of about 50, impeccable uniform, serious expression, walked directly towards me as if he knew exactly who was the one who had called. "Good evening. Are you Mrs. Linda Solis?" "Yes, sir," I replied with a firm voice. I made the report. Vanessa came running from the garden heels, clicking against the stone floor. Her face was unhinged. "What is happening?" "Why are the police here?" she asked with a sharp voice. The commander looked at her briefly before turning back to me. "Mrs. Solis, can you show me identification and documents proving you are the owner of this property?" I opened my purse with deliberate calm. I took out my ID, then the folder with the house deeds. The commander reviewed them carefully. He compared my name on the ID with the name on the deeds. He nodded. "Everything in order. You are the legal owner." He looked towards the garden full of people. "And are these people here with your consent?" "No," I said, and the word came out like a shot. The silence that followed was absolute, as if someone had pressed pause on the world. "That is a lie," yelled Vanessa. "She lent us the house. She helped us with everything." "Tell him Michael." My son appeared behind her with a face pale as paper. He looked at me with pleading eyes. "Mom, what are you doing recovering what is mine?" I replied without getting upset. "Ma'am," the commander maintained a professional tone. "Did you give verbal permission for this event? I withdrew it," I declared. "An hour ago, I called to inform that I was revoking any verbal permission, and never at any moment did I give written authorization for them to hold an event of this magnitude on my property." "But you paid for everything," howled Vanessa. "The tents, the flowers, everything." "Exactly," I said with deadly calm. "I paid. I worked. I prepared my house. And you excluded me from the celebration. You told me I did not fit the profile of the event." Murmurs began among the guests. Phones came out of purses and pockets. People were starting to record. Michael took a step towards me with hands extended. "Mom, please do not do this. Let's talk, but not here, not like this." "Not like this," I repeated. "How did you want me to do it, Michael?" "Waiting for you to decide to include me in my own house. Waiting for you to treat me as something more than the cleaning lady. It is not fair," Vanessa approached with clenched fists. "I worked months organizing this. It is my birthday." "In my house," I interrupted her, "which also I took another paper out of my purse. You presented to the municipality as your personal residence." I showed the commander the document I had found, the one with her name as the responsible owner. The commander took it and read it with an increasingly serious expression. "Ma'am," he said to Vanessa, "is it true that you presented yourself as the owner of this property to the municipal authorities?" Vanessa stuttered. No, it is just that. It was easier for the paperwork." "That is making a false statement," declared the commander. "It is a crime." "It is not a crime. It is a misunderstanding." Vanessa started crying, mascara tears running down her perfectly made-up cheeks. The Civil Protection men approached at that moment. "Commander, we checked the facilities, reported one of them. There are more than 100 people in a space without the required permits. There are not enough fire extinguishers. The electrical connections are provisional and dangerous. The emergency exit is blocked by one of the tents. Do you have a civil protection permit for this event?" asked the commander to Vanessa. She shook her head, sobbing. "The event must be suspended immediately," ruled the civil protection man, "and an infraction notice will be issued. The fine is $5,000. $5,000. I saw Vanessa stagger. Michael had to hold her by the arm. "No, we do not have that money," she whispered. "Furthermore," continued the commander, turning to the guests, "if the property owner requests that everyone leave, you must do so immediately. Otherwise, you would be trespassing." Some guests were already packing their things. Others took out phones, calling Ubers and taxis. The murmur grew. "This is going to be all over social media." I heard someone whisper, "Is that the mother-in-law? God, how embarrassing." I knew something smelled fishy when she said it was her house. Vanessa heard everything. Her perfect party, her Instagram celebration, her moment of glory crumbling in real time. Mrs. Solis, the commander, addressed me. "Do you wish to press charges for trespassing?" I looked at Michael. My son had tears in his eyes, not of regret, of rage, of shame. "Mom, please," he begged with a broken voice. "Do not do this to us. Do not do this to us." Not even now did he assume responsibility. It was still me doing something bad. "I am not going to press charges," I said finally, "but I want everyone to leave. Now." The commander nodded and turned to the crowd. "You heard the owner. The event is canceled. You have 15 minutes to vacate the property." Chaos broke out. People running towards the entrance, heels breaking on the gravel, men helping women into cars, the DJ disconnecting his equipment hurriedly, cell phone flashes everywhere. This was going to be on TikTok before midnight. Vanessa collapsed in one of the chairs, sobbing uncontrollably. Her friends approached to console her, shooting looks of pure hatred at me. Michael stood in the middle of the garden watching it all collapse, and I stood by the door of my house watching 120 strangers leave my property. A police officer approached Vanessa. "Ma'am, I need you to accompany me to the station. We have to file a report for the falsity in the municipal document." "No, please." Vanessa clung to Michael's arm. "It was a mistake. A misunderstanding. The public prosecutor will determine that," replied the officer with a neutral tone. Michael finally reacted. He turned towards me with an expression of fury I had never seen. "Are you happy?" he screamed. "Is this what you wanted, to destroy my wife's life? Humiliate us in front of everyone?" His voice cut across the garden. Those who hadn't left yet stopped to watch. I walked towards him slowly, with each step feeling the weight of 67 years of being a mother. I stopped inches from his face. "No, Michael," I said with a low but firm voice. "I did not destroy anything. You did it all by yourselves when you decided that I was not worth even a seat at the table in my own house. It was her birthday, her special day. And what am I? A stranger, an employee you hire when you need something. You are my mother. You are supposed to support me. Support you. Yes. Let myself be trampled. No." The tears finally came out of my eyes, but not from pain, from liberation. "Your father worked himself to death so we could have this house, and I took care of it like gold for 3 years. And what did you do? Use it as an Instagram stage presented as yours. Erase me from my own life. Mom." "No." I raised my hand. "I do not want to listen to you anymore. Leave. Take your wife, and when you are ready to talk like adults, like people who respect each other, look for me. Are you kicking me out? I am exercising my right as owner to decide who is in my house. The final blow, the definitive one." Michael looked at me with a mix of pain, rage, and something else, something that seemed dangerously close to hate. He took Vanessa by the arm and lifted her from the chair. "Let's go," he told her. As they walked away towards their car, Vanessa turned to shoot me one last look full of poison. "This is not going to stay like this," she hissed. "You are going to pay for this." I smiled. For the first time all night, I smiled for real. I already paid dear, $500. Now it is your turn. 10 minutes later, the last car disappeared down the gravel road. The sound of engines faded until only the silence of the lake remained, interrupted occasionally by the chirping of crickets. My house was mine again. The police finished taking statements. The commander handed me a copy of the report. "Mrs. Solis, you did the right thing." He told me with respect. "Many people let family abuse them for fear of being alone, but you defended yours with dignity." Dignity. That word resonated in my chest like a bell. "Thank you, Commander. If the lady who signed the false document does not appear voluntarily at the station tomorrow, we will have to go look for her. It is a serious matter." I nodded. Part of me felt a pang of guilt, but I crushed it quickly. Vanessa had chosen this path when she decided to falsify documents. The officers left. The civil protection ones too, after taking photographs of the irregular facilities and promising me they would send the fine by certified mail. $5,000 in the name of Vanessa Ochoa Martinez, event organizer. I was left alone in the garden. The white tents were still there, ghostly under the moonlight, the tables with their linen tablecloths, the centerpieces with coral roses already starting to wilt, the little lights in the trees still on, all that effort, all that money, all that work. For nothing, or maybe for everything. I walked among the empty tables, half-finished champagne glasses, plates with abandoned food, crumpled napkins, the remains of a celebration that died before being born. I sat in one of the chairs and looked toward the lake. The water reflected the moon like a silver mirror. This was the place where David and I came to dream, where we planned a future he did not get to live. I took out my phone. I had 17 missed calls from Michael, 12 WhatsApp messages. I opened them with trembling hands. "Mom, please answer. We need to talk. I cannot believe what you did. Vanessa is devastated. She has to go to the station tomorrow. Do you know what that means? Are you happy? You destroyed her birthday. You destroyed everything. I do not know if I can forgive you for this." I read the last message 3 times. I do not know if I can forgive you for this. My son, my only son. The boy I raised when David worked double shifts. The teenager who asked me for advice for his first kiss. The man I hugged when his father died. He did not know if he could forgive me. The tears came then, silent, unstoppable. Not tears of regret, tears of mourning. For the relationship I had just fractured. For the son I had perhaps lost. For the innocence of believing that family love was unconditional. I sat there until past midnight crying among the empty tents. At 2 a.m, my phone rang, an unknown number. I hesitated before answering. "Hello, Mrs. Solis." It was a female voice, young, hesitant. "This is Monica, the event coordinator, the one who had been there when Vanessa excluded me from the list. Tell me, I just wanted to tell you that what you did today was brave." She paused. I knew something was wrong. When Vanessa told me you were not invited, I felt it was unfair, but I did not say anything because, well, it was not my place. "Why are you calling me now?" "Because I have been organizing events for 2 years, and I have seen many things, but I have never seen someone erase a family member like that. And I wanted you to know that not all of us think you did something bad." I closed my eyes. A stranger was giving me the comfort my own family could not give me. "Thank you, Monica. And one other thing." Her voice became more serious. "Vanessa owes me $1,500 for my work today, and I do not think she is going to pay me. So if you need a witness for anything legal, you can count on me." $1,500 more. Vanessa had left debts everywhere. I will keep it in mind. Thanks for calling. We hung up. I stared at the phone. Then I opened the calculator and started adding up. What I spent, $8,500. Photographer, $3,500. DJ, $2,000. Premium bar, $4,800. Catering service, $7,200. Coordinator, $1,500. Civil protection fine, $5,000. Total, $32,500. $32,500 on a party that lasted less than 2 hours. And Vanessa had no way to pay any of that. I knew it with certainty because I remembered what I had discovered days ago. Her credit card debts, her Instagram lifestyle financed with air. My son was married to a financial time bomb. Sunday dawned cloudy. I woke up at 6, aching from the sleepless night. The garden was still full of the remains of the party. Tents, tables, chairs, decorations. I hired a cleaning service from town. 4 ladies arrived and worked for 6 hours. When they finished, my house looked like before again. Empty, quiet mine. I paid them $300 for the extraordinary work. They left grateful, commenting in whispers about the party canceled by the police. It was already news in town. At 3 in the afternoon, my phone rang again. This time, it was a number I did know, my cousin Ruth, who lived in the city. Linda. My friend just told me she saw a canceled party at the lake on TikTok. Was it at your house? That is how fast news travels now. Yes, Ruth, it was my house. Oh, cousin. And is it true that your daughter-in-law posed as the owner? It is true. How awful. And what did Michael say? Michael. Michael is angry with me. There was a long pause on the other end. Linda, listen to me well. Ruth's voice became serious. You did the right thing. I know it hurts. I know he is your son. But if you do not set boundaries, now that girl is going to take even the air you breathe. I know, cousin. Do you need anything? Do you want me to come over? No. I need to be alone for a while, okay? But call me if you need me, huh? Even if it is to cry. That is what family is for. Family. What a complicated word. Monday morning, I received a call from Mr. Harrison. Mrs. Solis, I heard what happened. Are you okay? Surviving counselor, I want to inform you of something important. Mrs. Vanessa Ochoa contacted me. My heart skipped a beat. What for? To ask me if she could sue you for moral damages and economic losses. The blood drained to my feet. And what did you tell her? I told her the truth, that there is no case, that you acted within your rights as owner, that she was the one who committed irregularities by presenting herself as owner to the authorities, and that if she insists on continuing down that legal path, things can get much worse for her. How much worse the false document can imply anything from an administrative fine to criminal prosecution for false statements. And if you add the patrimonial damage for the improper use of someone else's property, she could face a civil lawsuit too. I do not want to sue her, I said quickly. She is my son's wife. I know, but she needs to understand the gravity of what she did. That is why I recommended that she better seek a settlement with you. Extrajudicial, civilized, settlement that she pays you what you spent, that she signs a document recognizing that the house is yours and that she will never again present herself as owner, and that she offers a formal apology. Apology. From Vanessa. I do not think that will happen, counselor. Neither do I. He admitted. But at least now she knows that messing with you has consequences. We hung up. I sat on the terrace with a cup of coffee. The lake was calm. Birds flew low, grazing the water. David and I used to sit here on Sunday mornings planning the future. When Michael has children, he would say they are going to love coming here. They are going to swim in the lake. They are going to run in the garden. This house is going to be full of grandchildren's laughter. Grandchildren I might never meet now. Was it worth it? I looked around. My house, my garden, my lake. Yes, it was worth every damn second.